Yeah, I guess it's.
I mean, there's all of these references and talking about what it is, and I don't understand what any of it is.
It's an anonymous spellbook on demonology.
Demons, dude.
It was compiled in the mid 17th century.
People were pretty stupid back then.
Oh man. Hey, El Toddo.
What's going on?
We got a podcast, The Buff and the Blazer. If I was a listener, where would I go to find more?
You can check us out on our website, thebuffandtheblazer.com. Drew over there writes a article that goes along with every single episode.
You can find all kinds of little extras on the articles, and you can listen to the podcast right there. Also, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, we're on Twitter at Buff and Blazer. Follow us there.
Get those clicks, people.
The Buff and the Blazer.
Welcome to the Buff and the Blazer, episode 46. I'm Drew, and as always, I'm here with my good pal, El Toddo.
What's up, man?
What's up, dude?
It's snowing.
What you got in your hand there?
A Pabst.
What do you? Oh, nice.
And it's snowing. It's beautiful outside, just like I asked for on last week's podcast. I was hoping it would snow, and the day they call the election, it's snowing in a whole bunch of the country. So,
Are you getting a pretty good dropping up there?
we got like 4 inches so
cool.
far. Nothing crazy, but
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm kind
I love
of
winter.
stoked for the colder weather to come in.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. No more sweating our asses off. We got an interesting one. At least this is going to be interesting for me, I think, because this is a film I really wanted to get your take on.
And we had this is the second
request.
movie on the listener request we had from Renee.
Oh, yeah. So the film we are discussing this week is Hereditary, directed by Ari Aster, the second Ari Aster film we're discussing on the podcast. So we went through Midsummer, and we both pretty much like that film. What did you think of his prior film to that, Hereditary?
Okay, so this one came out first.
This one came out first. This is what put him on the map.
Okay, well, that being said, I think his second work, Midsummer, is a bit better
Okay.
from a story construction standpoint, but I do feel like the movie making and like the technical things in this movie were better than that one.
Okay, all right.
But I was entertained. It was a good horror movie. It was pretty slow for the first hour.
Yeah.
And then kind of once it picked up, it really kind of just got going downhill and got weirder and weirder and weirder.
Right.
And I enjoyed that a lot. I had one really good jump scare in the movie towards the end.
Okay.
And, yeah, I thought it was a quality horror movie, man. I don't think it was, like, the best horror movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really good. It kept me entertained. And it was creepy, man, which these types of movies are supposed to be.
All right, cool, for sure. I am going to say that... So I got to watch this movie in theaters. And like you, I was kind of sitting through it. And if I remember back watching it for the first time, I think I was also a little bit bored in terms of like how slow it progressed.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, once it picks up, it just starts rolling and snowballs. And then you're at this place at the end where you're like, what the hell just happened? And I've seen it probably 8 times since then. And I can go back now and appreciate kind of the slower development of the film because you kind of know what happens. So you're able to kind of put little pieces and bits together, like imagery and motifs that hint at what's to come.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I think this is another poster child of like this resurgence in the quality of horror films. They're like becoming more of an art now with some of these directors coming out. They just have like really, really high level of craftsmanship in terms of like how they shoot, how they design sets. But yeah, I would put this up there like in terms of cinematography and editing and even some of the lines, like it's all just really, really well done.
A24 knocks it out of the park, man. I think every movie we've done
Yeah.
from
That's another
from that studio
Mhm.
all year has been bangers.
Yeah, A24, like I don't know what their vetting process is, but it is incredible the kinds of caliber of filmmaking they have under their belt.
And you get, especially in this movie, you get the sense that they made this really, kind of beautifully shot movie with a pretty low budget,
Oh yeah.
right? Because the whole kind of movie takes place in a few areas, not really
Yeah.
very complex in terms of shooting locations. But the quality's so good, and like the trippiness of the whole miniature thing in this movie, I'm not entirely certain I get that part of it yet.
Yeah.
But they just make awesome movies, man.
Yeah, and there are still a couple of films that they've done that I want to at some point do on this show. And probably my favorite film that they've done so far is The Witch. And what I like is for the time period, it's a $5 million budget. So that's like peanuts. Just the attention to detail with like historical accuracy. With that film, I was blown away. So yeah, we'll definitely sneak in some more A24 films on the podcast, but
We might have
For
to
now.
soon because there ain't shit coming out right now.
yeah, we're entering like a lull in this like award season when theaters are still largely closed. So it's going to be interesting. So I guess it's a safe bet to say that maybe for at least the next several weeks we're going to be going back into the film catalog and pulling out some oldies but goodies. Some not so old, but not new releases by any means. So let me ask you this because I'm curious. Were there any similarities that you picked out between this film and Midsummer where you were like, that seems like something Ari Aster would do? Could you tell it was like a related
yeah.
ancestry or DNA?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it came from the same movie family, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like this one, there was a lot more attention to detail in the storytelling and the clues that they're dropping
Uh-huh.
throughout.
Right.
While the culmination is just as weird
Yeah.
as Midsummer, I feel like the resolution of Midsummer kind of played out in a much longer period.
Uh-huh.
So you kind of got to like bask in the strangeness of
Right.
it for a lot longer.
Yeah.
While this one, like once things kind of get figured out, and I knew something was up
Mm-hmm.
with like the whole seance thing and like the, all the
Yeah.
spirit stuff. But when it came together at the end, I was like, okay, well, I remember that little Easter egg. I guess so. Before, like, we can spoil this. This movie's 2 years old.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk spoilers in this movie.
Okay.
So if you haven't watched the film, pause, come back. But yeah, we're going to spoil the crap out of this movie.
Yeah, and it's on Amazon Prime. That's where I watched it. If you do want to go watch it,
Yep.
and then come back. But okay, so the way the movie resolves when he becomes, I forget the name, like the voodoo doll manifested some type of like demon, god, devil, god thing. Pyman, yeah. So is that like in that world, in that like seance and like, tarot cards world?
It could be.
Is that like a real thing? I get the sense that it's like a real demon that at least some people who saw the movie could relate to.
Yeah, I want to say it's like some kind of, I don't know. They mentioned like on one video something about like the Book of Solomon or something.
Okay, yeah.
some
So
weird-
like it has some type of basis in
Yeah.
folklore, right?
Mhm.
So I appreciated where it ended up and how strange that was.
Yeah.
But I felt like the Easter egg that they dropped about this Pyman thing was so slight in the beginning that you did notice it, but you didn't get any context for it, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And maybe there's more context throughout the film that I didn't pick up on because it was my first time watching it. But I did I did know something was up in terms of the whole dark side of it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it wasn't really it didn't end in a very believable place. And I know you have
Like,
to
so-
suspend belief because it's like a supernatural thing, but like I feel like in
Yeah.
Midsummer it gets so strange and so weird, but the cool part is like it doesn't really seem that out of the question, right?
Yeah, like, let me see if I'm interpreting you correctly. Are you kind of like saying that where it ended up seemed like it was almost kind of shoehorned in?
Yes. Yeah.
Where it's like you did. And I think there's something to that a little bit because, like I said, when I first watched it, I felt like I was watching two different films. Like, I watched the first half, and there's something odd and off about what's going on, but then it just goes totally off the wall, and you're like, how did we end up here? But I will say, going back and rewatching, even in like little drops of dialogue and stuff, you notice it all leads to where it ends. But
Yeah.
and this is another point that I think is it related to what we're talking about here. What's your understanding of why you think this film is called Hereditary?
Because it's okay, so it's all based from the grandmother's bloodline, and
Yeah.
and the daughter Charlie that was born was supposed to be Pyman or something.
Yeah.
Her soul was Pyman, but it has to be a male.
Right.
So the mom kind of in her sober life isn't a plot in all this, but in her in her blood, she has
Yeah.
to like make it happen. That's why I think it's called Hereditary. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much on point. Do you remember the story that the character that Toni Collette plays, Annie? Do you remember the story she tells at her AA meeting?
Yeah.
How like her father and brother almost came across as like psychotic, and they were accusing her mom of like trying to put a spirit in them, and then they ended up killing themselves or something like that, or her brother says that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's another like clue as to this was something she's been trying to do for a while and never had the chance to like fully achieve until Charlie. But it's like
I do
I
get it.
kind of get what you're saying though. Like I I get what you're saying.
And I just feel like it wasn't really it's almost too Easter eggy, and I got the sense that watching it for a single time, a lot of people probably didn't make the connections.
Yeah.
And probably like had the idea that the mom was not really involved in it the whole time, even though she kind of like what subconsciously was.
Yeah. I will say this though, because and I think this goes to your point. Apparently, everything that happens to Charlie, including the point where she gets decapitated,
Gets depicted in the miniatures, right?
it's in the miniatures, but apparently that was all planned. That was all like orchestrated by this cult.
Well,
And at some point, like even that beam that decapitates her has the symbol of the group on it.
I didn't notice that, but it's like,
Yes.
okay, they put the dead bighorn sheep there so he would swerve.
Yeah.
But like they don't explain any of that. Like you just said that, and it's like, okay, I can see that, but is that like just really, really deep subtext that is
Yeah, I
it's hard
guess.
to pick up on a single watch?
Yeah, and even if they did explain it, that's an element where I find it kind of hard to believe that all that can be orchestrated to such like minutia. Like she's gonna stick her head out of the car at this point, and it's gonna decapitate her. Like that's
Yeah.
a little bit
And making sure
unbelievable.
she eats the cake with the nuts in it at the party.
Right. Yeah, so that's a little bit hard to believe. But I totally get what you're saying because I felt that way when I watched it the first time. I was like, I wasn't expecting it to go there at all.
Yeah, so like I was pretty clued in to the whole. I mean, it's one of her first lines when she's speaking at the funeral in the very
Right.
beginning.
Yeah.
She says my mom had her own ceremonies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when she said that right away, I was like, okay, it's like a witchy type thing.
Yeah.
And then when what's her name, Joan, came into the mix,
Right.
I knew right away that she wasn't genuine.
Yeah, she wasn't who she was saying she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I almost feel like it was a very well crafted story, and it was executed in a mindset to where they felt they were giving enough clues to everything, but
Mhm.
they didn't want to give anything away, so they kind of held back
Gotcha.
on context for all of this
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
And for me, it like while Toni Collette's character was like going through her mom's scrapbooks and stuff, and it was kind of like rapid feeding you the whole story
Mhm.
and how it all comes together.
Yeah.
The amount they spent on this Pyman fella could have been a little bit more, or maybe I should have paused the TV and read the little page because they don't show you enough.
Yeah.
It's not
so,
on the screen long enough to actually get it, but you see like there's enough time to like read like this little
Yeah.
Pyman thing, you know?
Yeah, like of all the times I watched it, I never paused on the book until this time. And I was like, "Oh shit, it's all in there like these little lines. They highlight some of the real important ones,
Yeah.
but it's like I totally get what you're saying because if you actually read the page, it gives you a whole synopsis of what that character is. But it's like you're not going to expect your audience to sit there and read it.
Well, and if you're in a theater, you're not going to have the opportunity to read it that fast.
Right.
Because
right.
I like started reading it, and then she slams the book closed and grabs the picture book. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like literally
Right.
a few seconds. So,
Yeah.
like, I paused at the very beginning when they give the newspaper, fucking obituary kind of thing about the
Yeah.
mom or about the grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And I still since we're like kind of diving into, I do like the story. I just feel like it came together too quickly at the end, right?
Yeah.
So the whole other end of the story that I think I don't even understand still is the whole
Uh-huh.
miniatures thing and how that's involved with everything, because it is, right?
So, to be honest, in my opinion, the miniatures have nothing to do with the plot, and that's all artistic. That's all like the director's motif of like, this is the world that I'm giving you, and this like the miniatures are the literal like visual motif of everything that's about to happen.
So I
And you
kind
kind of get that sense because the first shot
yeah.
is like it takes place in the house and it opens on the scene that makes it look like it's in one of the rooms
Yeah,
of
it's
the
like
little
from
miniature.
the treehouse into the window, pan
Yeah.
across the room, and then into the house, and where
Yeah.
Peter is waking up.
Yeah. To me anyways, like that's disconnected from the literal plot and it's more of an artistic storytelling element. Where
Okay.
He's like, I'm going to drop you into this world.
Okay, so when it ended, I immediately thought, like, fuck, I didn't pick up on the miniatures. Like I started thinking in my head, like, was Annie subconsciously, like, conjuring up this entire scenario
Oh, I get you.
and making everything happen?
Yeah.
And I just didn't get it, or I missed it?
Yeah, at least in terms of my understanding, I take that as it has nothing to do with the actual like unfolding of the events.
Yeah, because, like, I knew it had some reference because the very first shot is the room, right? And then
Yeah.
throughout the movie, she's, like, got models of her mom standing over the hospital bed and, like,
Right.
the mom leaking or lurking in the window. And, like,
Yeah.
she has models of all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has the model of Charlie's head getting lopped off.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like I get it. I get where it's going, but I can't put it all together, right?
Right. Yeah, at least from how I take it. That's
And, well,
kind
and
of
if you've
just-
seen it a bunch of times and you don't have
Mhm.
that interpretation, maybe I was just really high because I was.
Yeah, I don't yeah, I never really thought of it that way. At least in my opinion, like I said, I don't think it has anything to do with her like setting events in motion cuz I mean and also too she's building all these models after the fact. But yeah, it is kind of disturbing. It's like her. This movie has a weird. There's like a weird kind of playing with the supernatural and the horror, but also like mental illness at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess when she's at the AA meeting, you get the sense that there's like, you're thinking the film is about mental illness, and there's something like going on with her that maybe the film is about her losing her mind or at some point. But then it's like it flips, and it's actually something creepy and concrete, where it's like it's actual like conjuring up.
Yeah, so
creepy
it like
goblins and
it
stuff.
starts
Ghouls.
off pretty firmly grounded in the real world, right? And then
Exactly.
at some point in the movie, at the seance at Joan's house, it basically
Right.
jumps over the fence into the supernatural world and stays
Yeah.
there for the rest of the movie.
Right. So yeah, I think the dollhouse, or not the dollhouses, but the little miniature models are more of an extension of that like real world element of the, like, that's her hobby / I guess way of venting out any kind of stress or frustration.
I got the
And I
sense
also-
that was her job. She like made models, right? Because there's that whole contract and shit.
Yeah. And you kind of see a little bit of that in Charlie too, because Charlie has her own little way of putting together
Her own little demon child,
crafts.
voodoo
Yeah.
dolls.
Her little crafts, decapitated bird heads and stuff.
But she can't help it, dude, because she's Pyman, you know?
Yeah.
She's got to manifest to get out of that body.
Yeah. What did you think of?
It's cool. I did like it. I actually really liked it. I thought it was like, it was, you know, equivalent to like the Friday the 13th fucking you
Yeah.
know? Or the fucking Mike Myers action. But
Mhm.
it was really subtle, and it gets creepier and creepier as the movie goes on.
Now, yeah, I watched something that was saying, I guess that word Pyman, or the name, has something to do with like a sound. That's what it means in like some language, where it's like a particular sound, and that's what that has to deal with. So anytime that click comes out, that's
That's
Pyman
Pyman.
taking like the lead.
But
But
I get the sense that there is like a pretty cool story behind all of it that it's all connected to, and people that have knowledge of that
yeah,
probably think it's like the greatest movie ever made, right?
And for me,
that's just
like
an element of folklore that I don't know a goddamn thing about any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
same. And for me, like the best horror films for me, and the reason why I like films like The Conjuring or like even The Exorcist, what makes those films entertaining for me is I really love the lore. Like lore to me is just really interesting, and I love when there's like a rich backstory of like legend and stuff that makes its way into these films. I don't know, there's just something about that that's always really interesting to me, and I think that's why I like Star Wars so much.
I wish I knew the lore of Pyman, dude.
But yeah, I have no idea like where that comes from. Like I had no idea there was like this whole thing with like, what was it, different princes or something like that, and he's like one of them. It's crazy.
I don't know. I was so scrambled at the end trying to piece everything together. Like, who are these naked dudes? Like, what's going on? Like, where's, you know, like, I was just
Yeah.
trying to put it all together, and then it all kind of, it had a very similar final ending
Yeah,
when Peter gets crowned the Pyman man.
right.
And I was
Poor
just trying
Peter.
to put it all together, and I feel like if there was almost too much to put it all together
Yeah, I
and
getcha.
get there with it, like timing-wise.
Right. No, that's totally fair. You mentioned that you had a good jump scare. What was the jump scare you had?
When she, I think it was Annie,
Uh-huh.
when she's trying to pull Peter's head off on
yeah.
the bed,
Yeah.
right? Where he hears and
Yeah.
he wakes up and Charlie's standing there in the corner, and then her head falls off and turns into a ball. And
Uh-huh.
then he lays back down and the mom grabs his head. I think that
Yeah.
got me a good jump. And I was like
Yeah,
pretty
that was a
stoked
good
on
one.
that.
I remember in the theater at the time when I watched, because when something's projected on a screen like that, you sometimes don't get the best contrast levels. So when his dad's burnt and you're already towards the end of the story and he's in his room and he wakes up and Annie's like camping out in the corner of the wall above him, I just remember the theater like losing its mind, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? I can't see anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it was really weird, but people I guess caught it, and
Yeah, 'cause
everyone was freaking the hell out.
I really liked that.
Yeah, and then on the TV it comes across perfectly clear.
Oh, okay,
and it's
yeah.
creepy. It's
Yeah, I watched it in pitch black late at night with
Yeah.
like the fire going. Like it was pretty creepy and awesome. I really enjoyed it. There was one part right kind of when the shit really hits the fan at the end, when he gets out of the car, I think, and like there's like the little shadow Annie or shadow grandma with like the white gown on that like runs past him, but it's like small. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
There's like a little shadow of it might be Charlie. I don't know who it is, but it's really small. You know, it's like
he's getting out of the car.
I think he's getting out of the car or he's leaving the room. It's one or the other. Peter is, and like
Oh, okay.
something like floats across his back. It's kind of when like those like iridescent rainbow light things are going around. It's like when
Yeah.
everything is starting to get really weird.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I don't get that part at all. I don't understand that. Like the little ghost human thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. Now that I think about it, well, here's another thing too that I guess is a bit confusing as well. Is so if Pyman is in Charlie the whole time, isn't there a point where she's in her room and she's like playing at the desk, but then she sees the little like whatever spirit blue light thing fly past her and
Yeah.
through the window?
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird, because if I'm taking it that Pyman's supposed to be in her the whole time.
Is Pyman sentient? Is Pyman
Yeah,
like,
unless he can like leave and enter whenever he wants.
is he making decisions or not, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
I think he might not have been.
Unless it's every time she clicks, that's to signal the fact that he's inside. I don't know.
Or yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's the only thing he can muster to make her do is the
Yeah.
click. And the whole point of like, you know, getting him out of her body and into Peter's body is because he doesn't have control.
Uh-huh.
So she is a girl that maybe she doesn't know anything about the whole Pyman thing. She's just
Yeah.
a victim of the bloodline.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to like I understand generally the story, but there are a lot of details that I'm like I still have questions about even up to this point.
No, I still like it though.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty damn complex story.
Yeah, and the other thing too, like reading that still image of the book when I paused it, it says something about like Pyman prefers inhabiting a male body, but will take a female host. But he becomes incredibly like, what was the word they used? Just like maleficent, like
Yeah.
incredibly. And it makes sense when he inhabits Annie, but Charlie doesn't exhibit any of that behavior. Because when he inhabits Annie, she's just totally bonkers.
Yeah. I'm trying to now I'm like fucking how did he get into her again? Into Annie? I can't remember.
So she burns Steve,
Yeah.
Gabriel Byrne's character. It sets him on fire, and then she's kind of standing there as he's burning, and then you see the lights like shine onto her face, and then she becomes like possessed. So it's
There's just a lot, you know.
yeah.
So like how much
Yeah, and then
of
like from that point she becomes like incredibly malevolent and just goes out and starts wreaking havoc.
Yeah, and I love that. I kind of wish she was that evil before, but then you also get the sense that she had that evil in her, right?
Yeah.
But it was only manifesting in her sleepwalking before Charlie's death,
Yeah.
right?
I guess.
Like the can
Yeah.
of paint thinner and lighting the kids on fire. That was obviously Pyman's
Yeah,
work
so,
or the
I mean-
mother's work, maybe the mother's work, conjuring. I don't know.
Yeah, so as
man.
we talk about this more now, it seems like Pyman's just a total like body jumper. He's like a body hopper.
Yeah, I can't find anything. How do you spell it? Do you know? Paimon?
Paimon.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I was looking for the...
Named in the Lesser Key of Solomon. I don't even know what that is.
This is funny, though. This is like satanic Bible
Oh.
lure.
Is that what that is?
Something like that.
Yeah, I guess. It's
I mean, there's all of these references and talking about what it is, and I don't understand what any of it is.
It's an anonymous spell book on demonology.
Demons, dude.
It was compiled in the mid-17th century.
People were pretty
Yeah.
stupid back then.
Oh, man.
But no, I appreciate that there is like this backstory behind it, just to kind of like put a bow on the whole story aspect.
Right.
And I liked where it got to. I just felt like getting there almost felt a little clunky.
Yeah, okay. I totally get where you're coming
Like
from now.
the clue rolling or the clues
Mhm.
was such a slow roll, and then it turned into like an avalanche of clues at the end, and you were almost expected a little too much to put it all together. I guess that's where I
Gotcha.
come out on it.
All right, cool. Yeah. That's totally fair.
But entertaining nonetheless.
Sure, yeah. Agree. Let's get into some of the characters real quick and then the acting. So we got Toni Collette, she's so good in everything she's in. And she's actually Australian, too. She does
Yeah.
like a flawless American accent.
That Knives Out movie was the only other thing I've seen her in.
Yeah, she's been in a bunch.
She's good in this. I really loved her kind of resolution with
Yeah.
the wire saw.
With the piano wire.
Oh, so good, dude. And I loved how she like sped up, just like
Yeah.
cutting normally. Like, oh, I loved how gruesome it was in that little
Oh,
pocket
man.
at the end.
And then when you pull out of the attic and then you go down, you hear the thud.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it's really
yeah,
cool.
It's really gruesome. I love Gabriel Byrne. He's not in the most like recognizable films, but the films he's in, I always really he has this like really calm, cool demeanor in every role he's in. I remember him in Man in the Iron Mask. He played D'Artagnan.
Yeah.
And then I remember him in this film I watched as a kid. It was a Disney film called Shipwrecked.
Okay.
And he played like this pirate that was basically infiltrated like the Navy, like the English Navy. It was, oh man, he's so good. And I love him in this movie.
You know, he does a really good job in this movie of like, because he doesn't have a ton of speaking lines, but like showing the emotional stress he has
Oh yeah.
throughout, like as things are getting weirder and weirder, and like he's getting the call from the cemetery that the grandmother's grave has been desecrated and dug up.
Right.
And you can just see him like sympathize almost with like the stressed out dad at the wedding kind of character we had in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
Like the dad trying to hold shit together, and it's just getting crazier and crazier. I thought he was really good in this.
He's definitely like the most level-headed character in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And then
It doesn't do him any good.
It doesn't end well for the guy. He's a toasty at the end. Let's see. Millie Shapiro, she does a great job as Charlie.
She's really creepy as Charlie.
And I think I was reading on her that she won an honorary Emmy, I want to say, or an honorary Tony because she played, I guess, Matilda on Broadway.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so she's trained. I don't know. She's just super creepy in this movie. And it's like something about her, because she doesn't have a whole lot of lines.
No.
But it's like her facial expressions.
Yeah.
And the way she totally just pierces the frame. Yeah, really, really effective.
And you kind of feel for her really bad, like when she meets her end. That whole situation up to her getting her head bopped off by a telephone pole.
Yeah.
It was, I felt bad. I was like, oh, that sucks. I felt really bad for her at the party, to be honest.
Yeah, and then the way he carries her out.
Yeah. That
that
part
moment
of the,
like humanizes her.
Totally. That part of the movie like kind of hit me on an emotional level where I wasn't in horror mode anymore.
Right.
And then, the next scene, it brings you real quick right back into a horror movie, which was cool. It kind of snapped out of it a little bit.
Oh, man.
It
the
shocks
scene
the
when they cut
emotion
back-
out of you.
Yeah, when they cut back to the side of the road of her head, like, just there,
Yeah.
covered in ants, you're like, fuck.
And I liked Alex Wolff as Peter. I liked his whole part in that sequence as well.
Yeah. He's like a total method actor. And so apparently
I've seen him in something before. I don't know what, though.
he's been in a bunch of films. He was in character the entire shoot of this film.
Oh, cool.
And like the director like referred to him as Peter even on set. So he was like in mode the whole time.
Yeah.
But like this dude does such a good job of playing someone that's incredibly like haunted, and he's just like you can. I think more than even like the horror element of the film, there's like this massive family drama element too.
That's very real world, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where the acting comes into play.
Yeah.
In terms of like being able to connect with a family like this on a real world level. I think that's your entry into like the story on like I can identify with some of these people and their problems. Well, maybe not so much, but like
You
with
can
maybe
up
some of
until
the,
fucking the Ouija board starts working, and then you're like, oh, well,
yeah, exactly.
I can't identify with that.
Right.
Do you ever play the Ouija board as a kid?
No.
No?
No.
My sister was into it. One of my, not my oldest, but my next older sister was into the Ouija board. I remember playing with it with her when I was like 6, 7 years old with like candles and stuff during a thunderstorm when I lived in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And
Like I'm a pretty skeptical guy myself for the most part, and I'm not willing to test. I'm just like, I'm good.
oh, I've done all of it, and it's like never. Even as a kid, like this was right around the time when same sister revealed to me that Santa wasn't real. So I was like putting everything together on what was real and
You're
what
just
was
like,
fake.
all right, well, let me try this then.
Yeah,
This is,
totally.
You're just,
I was like, let me
going for the
see every
gusto.
horror movie and let me, do all this weird shit.
Yeah.
I never did anything with a Ouija board that wasn't somebody there who wanted to get excited moving it.
Yeah. I gotcha. Let's see who
But
else.
Alex Wolff should give up Sacha Baron Cohen a call if he's just going to stay in character for long times. Like, go craft up some new character.
Oh yeah, for Borat.
Yeah, not Borat, but if he can stay in character for months
whoever.
on end, like go craft up a new character and go get that hack, dude. Go get that social dynamic hack and get some gold on film.
Ann Dowd as Joan. I thought that was the perfect actress to portray that type of character.
Yeah.
Like she totally comes across as like the warm, friendly woman person.
See, she
And
didn't
you-
come across that way at all to me.
Yeah, you just thought it was a little too like creepily nice. Like
Yeah, because the way it's filmed when she kind of stops her from leaving the parking lot.
right. Yeah, it's kind of like creepy and abrupt, right? She like ambushes her.
Yeah. So I knew something was up. I was like, all right, this lady is a cog, right? She's a cog in this story that's going to make something crazy happen.
Yeah. So I, would you say that you believed the performances in this film? Like they were all pretty much authentic for you?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, the
Same.
acting was spot on. The naked dudes at the end kind of threw me off, but they didn't really have anything to do with the story. They're just like part of the cult, right?
I think the first naked person you see is the same dude at the funeral that's looking over Charlie's shoulder with the creepy smile.
Oh, that's him?
I think that's him.
Oh, because I noticed that at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, what's this fucking guy's?
He was just waiting
Deal.
to bust his pants off. He's like, I want to show you my world.
Yeah, naked dudes have always a shock factor in Ari Aster's movies, right?
Yeah, especially when they give you that look. They all seem to give you that weird look.
Yeah, because that was like in the corner of frame. You could have easily not noticed it.
Yeah.
And I noticed it, and I was like, "Oh, what's up with that guy?" You know, I didn't put it together that he was one of the naked dudes at the end.
Yeah. I'm almost positive that he's the first naked dude you see.
That's funny.
Oh, man. All right, rolling along here. Let's talk about the cinematography, because I think you and I both have really good things to say about this.
Yeah, definitely the highest scoring aspect of this movie, in my opinion. I thought it was fucking awesome, to be honest. I was really stoked. From the first shot on,
Yeah.
I just loved all the really slow movement and the patience. And I loved the setting, where they were. It's like Colorado or Wyoming or Montana or something, right?
Yeah, I wanted to look that up because they look like they're in the mountains somewhere.
Well, yeah, so they're like somewhere where mountains meet kind of plains type stuff. So I was thinking Wyoming or east side of the Rockies in Colorado or something, because that bighorn
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay, Utah, yeah, that works out just fine. Any of those western states, but that bighorn sheep they threw on the road that Peter had to swerve around, I was like, okay, they're pretty much in the Rockies.
Yeah.
But I loved that. I loved some of the upside down stuff. I loved the really creepy horror stuff in like the last 15 minutes where things got really weird. It was just, I don't think there was anything I didn't like. I loved when the dad caught on fire. I thought it was done really well.
Yeah, that two shot of them that's pulled out when you see Annie on the left and then him on the right on fire. That's like one of the most iconic shots of this movie that they were using in advertising everywhere.
Yeah.
But like you said, going back to what you said about the slow camera movements, maybe when I saw it the first time, it was a drag. But the second time and third time you watch it, there's like this really, it gives it that creepy quality, I think.
It's like very deliberate, right? It's like meant to put you on edge.
Exactly, yeah. It like slowly drags you along, and then you just get bashed over the head at the very end. It's definitely a cool kind of pacing, and that's the camera work is another like great compliment to that, like the overall pace of the film. There were two shots that stick out like sore thumbs for me that I love. Maybe three. So the first one is the opening shot, where you like zoom into the room in the dollhouse, and then I liked the scene where Peter's sleeping, and then Annie gets on top of him to wake him up, and it does this like tilt.
Yeah.
And it's real jarring and creepy.
Yeah, because she comes up all of a sudden, right? Because that's right when she wants to kick off the seance.
Right. So that's another scene. And then the final scene is when she's like running down the apartment building to find Joan, and the camera starts upside down and then flips right side up.
Yeah.
All that stuff is like, it's just, they're really planned out, and they look beautiful on screen. And then there's a lot of just beautifully framed stagnant shots too that I like.
And they feel like simple, executed really well, right? Nothing feels like it was insane camera work and insane freaking effects and stuff, but it feels like they did things the simple way they knew how to do them, but did it like really, really well.
Yeah, and it's, you don't get the sense that they do it just to be like, check this cool shot out.
Exactly.
They really kind of, it's jarring, some of these shots, and it adds to that sense of dread that you get.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so effective.
What'd you think of like their use of gore in it? Because it's not like hyper gory, but when it wants to be, it is, right?
But like Midsummer, the gore you see, at least, because I mean I haven't seen a lot of this stuff myself, and I hope I never do, but it seems to be really realistic.
I've seen,
especially with some of the like decomposing bodies.
I've seen a body that had been ripped apart by coyotes, but it was like 6 months old and mostly decomposed.
Holy shit.
It was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any wetness to it, right? It was a dry kind of situation.
Ah, okay, gotcha. And then, I mean, the highlight gore moment of the whole film is what you mentioned when Annie's playing with the wire on her neck.
So good.
And you don't even have to see it for very long. It's just the sound.
Yeah.
the sound of it that drives you nuts.
And even when like Peter smashes his face into the desk, or Charlie does, or whatever, whoever,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
spirit does that to him. I think it's
Right.
Charlie. But even like the detail on him, like his nose is all smashed up and shit.
Oh, well, even before that, like how he was able to contort his face
Yeah.
like that, and then how his hand is totally twisted around. It's just, I don't know if some of that was prosthetic or he was able to do that with his lips, but
He definitely did a great job of looking like freaked the fuck out for the entire
Yeah.
movie. Except for
Mhm.
the little parts where he's trying to get with that chick and smoking bong loads. I appreciated the nod to fucking the Cheeb in the movie.
yeah.
But those dudes smoking at their high school under the bleachers, like, I could never have gotten away with that at my high school, man.
Yeah.
They had cops at my high school, like, all the time. Like, you couldn't just smoke weed.
Mine too, yeah.
Crazy.
I don't know. Maybe they're different over there in Utah.
But that's 2 Ari Aster movies with drug use.
Yeah, for sure.
Dig it.
And then I guess there's not a whole lot of FX stuff.
Just really the gore, right? And
The
then
gore.
the kind of weird lighting, the light, iridescent light thing that
Yeah,
goes
a
around
lot
the
of it
room
seems
a
to
few
be-
times.
Yeah, like a lot of it seems to be practical to me. Like even the scenes where Toni Collette's on the ceiling. Like it seems like she's on a wire or
Yeah.
something, but it comes across as like she's floating.
Yeah, but it looked like she's really there, right?
Yeah.
It didn't look like it was edited or like green screen or
No.
you know.
That looks like it's her.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it was all pretty. Like I said, A24, they're all about the quality.
Yeah.
Like regardless of the budget.
I can't wait for the Green Knight.
Yeah. That one looks creepy as hell. I don't know what it's about.
I love that story.
Yeah.
And there was a movie in the 80s, I think. And I remember it as being really cheesy, but it's got some nostalgia factor. And if A24 is making it, I am just stoked. I'll see any movie that comes out of this studio, like, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Every single one we've done has been awesome.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed. Let's talk about the score of this film because it's everywhere.
Yeah, and it's very horror. It's like very tonal and very
Very synthesized.
and enhancing
Mm-hmm.
the creep factor.
Yeah.
I liked it.
So you were okay with it. Did you have the opinion where you were like, I wish they would have maybe had less, or did it work for you?
No, this one worked for me.
Okay.
Totally.
All
I never at once, maybe at the very end,
right. Uh-huh.
the culmination, I could
Yeah.
have done a little less, but
Mhm.
but even with that, it is such a kind of like a shocking reveal at the end that I get it.
Yeah,
I get
gotcha.
why it's so booming, you know?
And like, I guess this is a good place to say this because this is something that I noticed in this film and Midsummer. Do you notice that all his films kind of just crescendo into this massive ending?
Yeah.
It's like a total bloom at the end. It's
Yeah.
like bam. And then even like the credit music, it's just like they're all these upbeat like we're at the end and it's we're partying now cuz you just walk through some shit.
Yeah, and I feel like this one was the same vibe comes out in both of the movies we've done of his, but I feel
Yeah.
like this one was maybe a bit too explosive at the end without the
Okay.
context, while Midsummer got like pretty wacky and stayed really wacky. It stayed there longer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For me at least.
Yeah.
Because,
But I
like,
can-
okay, let's just make a comparison. So when she
Sure.
gets revealed as the May Queen, that's
Mhm.
like the big culmination, right? But it had already been, you know what the hell's going on and how wacky everything is for a while before that.
Right.
And this one, you find out Peter is becoming Paimon
Mhm.
in, like, the last minute of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I
so
getcha.
I just feel like the other one, I feel like
She
he
goes through, like,
has
the
his
whole-
blueprint and he executed it better in Midsummer.
Gotcha. Okay. And what's weird is oddly weird is they both culminate in the crowning of a character.
Yeah.
It's they're very much related. But yeah, you get to see more of Danny's journey in that film. Like her actually from start to finish, like get to that point.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, Peter's just sort of like he's probably the character you least expect to end up where he does at the end.
And I feel like I really can relate to and enjoy the types of elements of the human condition that seem to make Ari Aster tick.
Yeah.
You know, like the weird ritual stuff and like the anthropological side in Midsummer.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see whatever he does next. I hope.
Man,
it's in
I
the
listened
same line.
to a great interview with him, and I loved how he explained the process for his idea for this movie. And I just never would think to be able to do something like that. But basically he was saying like he wanted to come up with a story that was all about family drama and family trauma and how that would look like through a horror lens.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
So
I like
for
that.
him, he said for him, he connected to this story on the level of family drama.
Yeah.
But to make it interesting, he wanted to look at that through the lens of horror. And that's how he came up with this story.
Yeah, and that, like I said, like I feel like I really enjoy the things that make him tick to write something.
Yeah.
I feel like I have interest in those things too, right?
Have you ever seen Ari Aster?
No?
Like, type it real quick.
All right.
Just type in Ari Aster. And this guy looks like the most harmless,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
like gentle, spirited person.
yeah.
Even when he's being interviewed, and I'm just like, man, you are an evil man. Evil man.
It doesn't make you evil to be fascinated by like evil elements of humans.
Oh no, and
Right?
I'm totally kidding about the evil thing. He's just he has such a great eye for horror. It's awesome.
Well, I think you said he had something in the works when we did Midsummer, right? He
Yeah,
had
what
a
is he
project,
doing?
like some type of project in the works, but nothing announced.
At least on his director credits, all I'm seeing is Midsummer.
Well, I hope there's something else soon.
Yeah, oh man. I'll watch anything he produces, anything he directs. Cuz this dude's on another level.
All right,
And I
brother.
hope he stays under the A24 banner too.
Oh, me too, man. A24 is the shit. And I want to see the dudes that made Uncut Gems. I want to see another one of their movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do Love Hates, man. You go first this time.
All right, so my love anyway. My love for this film is the cinematography, the filmmaking. If I was to put on a film that is the perfect example of good directing, it would be something like this. Because you see it in every aspect of the movie making. You see it in the direction of the characters, of the actors, the performances they give. And then on top of that, visually, he has a clear vision of what he's trying to do in terms of his visual style. And that gets established in this film, and you see elements of it in Midsummer. So this is a guy who definitely has a vision, and he just goes out and executes it. And sometimes you don't see that with directors. They're kind of like all over the place. But this guy, you can tell he has a very specific style and vision.
And he's doing his own thing all the way.
For sure, yeah.
Not trying to copy anybody else.
Exactly. And for hates, I mean, well, another thing I love about this film is the lore. Even though we don't get a lot of it, it's interesting when you get to the end. It makes you want to go back and be like, all right, what is this? And anytime you can get like clues and stuff in a frame, that's always super interesting to me. And in terms of the hates, I think with elements of like the spirit and the possession, some of that is like a little bit hazy and unclear. But I mean, it's not really a hate. It's because you kind of just go along with it. But yeah, that's what I got.
So, I hate to have the same love, but that's me too, man. Cinematography.
Yeah.
I loved basically every shot in this movie, man. There's so many shots of Peter in that room and that bed where the movie really starts when you come
Yeah.
into the miniature. I thought that was just really, really captivating, I guess is the right word. I was just kind of like mesmerized at how awesome the shooting was.
Yeah.
And then from like a hate perspective, I wouldn't say I really hate anything, but I felt at the end of the movie that I didn't fully get everything. Even though talking to it with you, I feel like I kind of did. I almost like maybe was looking too deep, particular with the miniatures. But like I don't like the fact that when it ended, I felt like, damn it, if I knew who this Pyman character is, that movie probably would have meant something way more for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I tried really hard to pay close attention and to catch all the Easter eggs as it was going.
Right.
And I felt like I caught all of them, but still didn't completely put it together. So I was a little disappointed in myself. And I'm not even sure if it sounds like I got the meaning of the title, and
yeah,
I kind of get it. I kind of get it all the way around. I think I might have been looking for more than what was there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's fair, man. Let's get to our analytical part and slap a score on this sucker.
All right. So I'm going to rate this 4 bong loads.
Cool.
I think everything technical was great. The acting was really good. And the story, while it was really good, it just left me feeling like I didn't completely put it together.
Gotcha.
And, being in the kind of horror genre, I'm not really sure it's a Fiverr type of award-winning movie, right? So, yeah, 4 bong loads. I was smoking a combo. I smoked a combo doobie of some Gucci and some Blue Fire from Humble Seed Organization, and it was like a pretty nice mix.
Busting out the doobies lately.
And I want to say this: when you watch horror movies, people like get into it. Like, turn all the lights off and try and get yourself freaked out, because it makes it better. Because that's what you're watching them for,
Yeah,
some people don't like to be scared
movies.
or startled and stuff, and like that's what I live for in horror movies.
It's fun.
Yeah,
I love jumping out of my seat.
totally.
And man, I wish you could have seen this film in theaters, because it was so much fun watching it with an audience.
Yeah, I bet it was, man. I bet it was a blast in the theater.
Yeah, so much fun. I'm gonna give this 4.5 buckets of popcorn. Like you, I think this almost transcends horror and becomes like artistic filmmaking. It's so well crafted. It's just those little bits of like story element that come across as confusing, and maybe I'm just not understanding it correctly, but it's just not clear enough for me to be able to be like, this is what it's about, and this is what's going on, and that's that, and this is this. But again, it's only enough to knock it down half a point for me.
Okay.
But I did get the feels watching this movie. I remember the first time I saw it, I felt like I got hit by a train. I was like, what the hell? And by the end of the film.
That's how I felt with Midsommar.
Yeah, okay.
And I feel like this movie is exactly in his style, and it makes sense to me that this one came out before Midsommar. I feel like Midsommar was story-wise was a bit tighter and a bit more refined.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, so that's pretty good grades, I guess, from the Buff and the Blazer.
Yeah, man, he makes good movies. A24 makes great movies.
Yeah, we are on board.
We're on board.
But yeah, man, so that's all I got.
Me
for
too,
this one.
man. It's a good movie. Check it out. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's totally entertaining, totally worth your time. It's like a little over 2 hours.
Yeah, we definitely recommend it. It's streaming on Amazon Prime. That's where you watched it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, occasionally this movie goes on sale for I think it was on sale for $4.99 at one point. So you can get that, and I think it's in 4K too. So it's like, if you're going to pay $3 to rent it, if you're not going to stream it, I mean, you might as well buy it. But it's Ari Aster's he's worth a watch if you haven't seen this film or Midsommar. And if you have seen Midsommar, we did a review on Midsommar. We discussed that film a few episodes back, so check that out. That's all we got for you. That's episode 46 of The Buff and the Blazer. Hope everyone has a great week this week, and we will catch you guys next time.
See you later.